Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for diehard Houston Astros fans from a diehard Houston Astros fan. I am the aforementioned diehard Astros fan. My name is Paul Salazar Jr. I am a comedy writer. I am just an all-around writer. I'm a ghost writer. I am the ghost writer from the comic book series. I'm a Houston native. I born and raised in Houston, Texas. I've spent the last decade plus out here in Los Angeles. Sorry about it, Houston people. It's where I had to go for my career. I started the Space Cadet Sports blog and podcast with the new and refreshing perspective of actually liking the Houston Astros and being a fan of them. I feel like most of the people that cover the Houston Astros are either not fans of them or they're people that sadly, that you have to kind of do some clickbait type things. You kind of have to stir the pot and get people all angered up nowadays. That seems to be the way sports media runs. So instead of this being a very negative or doom and gloom place, this is more of a cool glass of water on a hot summer day. We try to be logical. We do try to be reasonable. We do try to support our team. However, we do have to be realistic about it at some point. So yeah, we will talk about our team. We'll talk about them lovingly. But, I also want to make sure that I'm not just, being nice to the team. I want to make sure I'm actually giving you what they are up to. That's kind of what we're doing here at the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm recording here in sunny Los Angeles, as I mentioned earlier, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier, Carla the dog, is here with me. She may get on mic at some point. It is getting close to her WALK time. That's right. I know how to spell, folks, believe it or not. Carla does not. I know how to. That is why I get the first credit on the podcast. Education is important, kids. It really is. But let's get to the podcast today. We're very excited today. I am very happy to announce that the Houston Astros, your Houston Astros, are the winners of the Silver Boot Series. Once again, the Silver Boot Trophy, which we all know is just a bragging rights trophy, is going to remain in Houston for the 8th consecutive season. The Houston Astros have been dominating the Texas Rangers, or the so-called Texas Rangers, that baseball team from Arlington. They've been dominating them for the past 8 seasons. And that's just something that, like I said, it's a bragging rights trophy, but still, you love to have it. You don't want that trophy to move from its home at Minute Maid Park. It just wouldn't know what to do with itself at Globe Life. It would be an unfamiliar, uncharted territory. So it's nice to have that trophy stay in its home in Houston. The Houston Astros definitely made it tough to win this Silver Boot this season. You got to give the credit to the Rangers for playing some great games, but the Houston Astros, in a lot of ways this season against the Rangers, or just this season in general, have been finding ways to lose baseball games more than they've been getting beaten or finding ways to win baseball games. There have been some teams that have completely beaten them, but this series versus the Rangers, and it seems like lately, past the trade deadline, the Houston Astros have been dealing with a woeful offense, some very suspect defense, and just one pitch bad for pitching almost all the time. They've had a lot of stellar outings from Houston Astros pitching from Houston Astros starting, and some good outings from their bullpen. I have been very critical of not very critical, but very critical for me, I guess I should say. I've been critical of the Houston Astros offense post trade deadline. That they finally have seemed to have got some offense going here against the Rangers. But if I'm being honest, today we're just going to do kind of a recap of the series for the Houston Astros, and we'll talk more broadly about them tomorrow. We will have a podcast out tomorrow, so look out for that, where we'll kind of talk about roster moves. We'll talk, like I said, a little more broadly. We'll talk about roster moves. We'll talk about individual performances or broad sweeping performances or trends. We'll talk about Dana Brown. We'll kind of get into more of the nitty gritty on tomorrow's podcast. Today, we'll talk more directly about how the Astros have played post-trade deadline and specifically against the Rangers in this series in Arlington. So it was, it's definitely... We'll also have a panic meter update for tomorrow. I've written it out. We're ready to go. We're ready to update the Houston Astros official panic meter here on the Space Cadet Sports podcast. You'll get that tomorrow. I know a lot of people have been panicking. So we'll see, as the person who probably panics the least in the Houston Astros fan base, we'll see exactly where my level is tomorrow and where that probably, compares to your level, which might be a little bit higher. But I think sometimes the media likes to get people all worked up, But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this game, about these games. In the first game against the Texas Rangers, or the so-called Texas Rangers, of course, the Houston Astros lost a really close one, a walk-off game in extra innings. They lost off of a home run given up by Caleb Ferguson. That was a really tough game. It was a tough game to watch. It was a tough game to experience, especially with the fact that the Houston Astros, have been behind the Seattle Mariners in the AL West standings. So getting some traction, like I was saying before, the Astros Rangers series, getting some traction in the division is paramount to the Astros' success, and we needed to see it. So on Monday's game, unfortunately, the Astros went out there and they dropped one 3-4 against the Rangers, losing it in the 10th inning, giving up Caleb Ferguson giving up a home run in the 10th. It was tough. They squandered another Hunter Brown quality start. Hunter Brown went out there, got 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 run, only 1 earned run, 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. The strikeouts weren't too high. The Astros pitchers have been on a huge strikeout run as of late. I feel like the Rangers were trying to limit their strikeouts against the Astros this whole series. They did a pretty darn good job of that, but they did an excellent job out of the gate against Hunter Brown. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it seems like Houston Astros starters were getting, high amount of strikeouts and almost double-digit strikeouts for games consecutively there. After Hunter Brown pitched 6 innings, the Astros went with their script for their bullpen. They went Abreu, Presley, Hader. I did mention in my I believe I wrote a little blurb about this on the Substack. If you want to check that out at spacecadetsports.substack.com, you go check out that little blurb. Definitely feeling a little emotions after a walk-off loss. But, I didn't give the pitching a lot of blame for this loss. However, Abreu came in the 7th. He had a clean sheet there, and Presley came in the 8th and blew a save, his 7th blown save of the season. He let up a home run, which tied the game at that point. And then Hader came in to pitch the 9th. He pitched 1 inning. He got he gave up a walk and got 3 strikeouts. Definitely looking like he could have been a little shaky, missing the zone, but he did his job in the 9th, and after that, in the 10th inning and extra innings, instead of tapping Hader for a second inning, manager Joe Espada went with Caleb Ferguson, the new left-hander from New York Yankees, to go out in the 10th inning and extra innings, and he honestly did fairly well. I know that this is Ferguson's second blown save of the season. He also picked up the loss, giving him his 4th loss of the season. New York Yankees fans have not been too happy with him based off of his performances this year. And I feel like putting him in this position, was really throwing the kid in the deep end type of a situation for Caleb Ferguson here from his manager, Joe Espada. I do think that it was a perilous situation to put him into. I'm not saying that he was the best arm for the situation. However, I do think that saving Hader in this instance was the best move for Joe Espada. I think obviously Hader had to be used in all 3 games against the Texas Rangers. I feel like if Hader would have had to gone 2 innings here, that would have made him not usable for the next game. And these were huge playoff style games. I feel like Joe Espada made the right move by not sending Hader out there for a second consecutive inning, especially because Hader has been great in save situations, but not great in non-save situations. So I feel like it was probably the best call. Now, Caleb Ferguson did pitch 2/3 of an inning. He did give up 1 hit, so that accounted for his the 2 runs that ended up winning the game. He earned one of those runs. Obviously, the ghost runner was on second, so he couldn't do anything about that. He did pick up 2 strikeouts, though. So those 2 outs that he got were strikeouts. He was 1 pitch away from getting out of the game, winning the game in extras. He was 1 pitch away from being a hero. And that 1 pitch, it seems like that's been kind of the tale of the Astros' losses in these one-run games. Obviously, you need to execute all of your pitches as a professional baseball pitcher, but some of these, it's just been 1 pitch, and sometimes it's with 2 strikes. It's just heartbreaking to see. And Caleb Ferguson is wearing this L pretty heavily when it comes to, the ex-boys online and the Redditors. Nobody is very happy with Caleb Ferguson's performance in this game. I honestly thought I had hope. I was kind of stressed during this game. It was a tough day for me personally, not gonna lie. I brought all of my emotions to watching that baseball game. So I was stressed out most of this game, but in the 10th, for a minute there, I'm not going to lie, I thought Caleb Ferguson was going to get us out of it. Unfortunately, he did not. I feel like I feel like we were all about to buy Caleb Ferguson jerseys. Instead, we're all blasting him as the worst pitcher in the bullpen and saying that Joe Espada should have put anybody else in there, anybody else. But I don't know. I think because he did so well and almost got out of it, I understand putting him in that pressure situation. But I mean, I guess I don't know who you trust in the situation. People were saying Taylor Scott. Taylor Scott has been great for us all season. However, I think sometimes you have to trust that the managers and the people making the decisions during the game have a better feel for what these pitchers are doing and how they're feeling on those respective days. Taylor Scott was not brought in. We'll get to it later, but he was brought in later games, and he's looks a little shaky. He's not hitting his spots quite as well as he has in the earlier parts of the season, and you have to think about the fact that he has put on a huge workload this season, and maybe he just needs to rest a little more. I can't think of a single pitcher out of the bullpen that has come out in like consecutive days or stressful situations as much as Taylor Scott has. I think Taylor Scott just wasn't looking right or wasn't feeling right, and Espada went with Ferguson because all season long in these extra innings, he either goes with Dubin or he goes with Taylor Scott. And I think, I'm going to have to double check to see if Dubin's even. I was like, Dubin was called back up for the team. I don't believe he was sent back down. We will get to some more roster moves tomorrow, but Dubin wasn't sent back down. So Dubin is with the team, but I get not wanting to pitch him. Ferguson is a lefty arm. I see it. Obviously they lost the game. I can't sit here and defend Espada and be like he made the right call. That call cost him the game, even if it was just 1 pitch that cost them the game. I'm just saying I understand the logic at the time. I do think that if it was me, I don't know if I put Ferguson in there, but let's really think about it here. Let's get. I'm gonna pull up the roster right now. I feel like I feel like there weren't too many options that you feel completely great about. It's I'm trying to get the roster where it shows you where how many their bullpen tax at the time. Yeah, so it's like you have Dubin available, maybe Brian King. I feel like he's pitched really well, but maybe he isn't. He hasn't always been used in very high leverage situations. He has been thrown out there to get out big bats. So I feel like that's kind of it. You're looking at Dubin, you're looking at Brian King, or maybe Caleb Ort. So I guess when it comes to those names, none of them are really firing me up so much that it's like, okay, yeah, obviously you have to go with those names over Ferguson. But none of those names, honestly, they don't fire me up in a sense. It's like you had obviously that was the right call. So I feel like while he does get some blame for this, I don't think that it was the worst decision in the world, and we should be firing Joe Espada or anything like that. But yeah, moving on. In this game, they also tried to work some small ball. They had, I believe, Altuve opened the game with a walk in this game. We've been yelling about patience and better at bats, but Altuve mixing up his ambush strategy, being patient, getting on base. It does look like it's been contagious lately. Jake Myers had a sac bunt with 2 strikes in the 7th. Pinch hit, pinch hit Caratini for McCormick to get some small ball going. I think, yeah, like that was a point where the Rangers also made a pitching change. They brought in Chafin, who walked in Caratini with 4 straight balls, loading the bases for Dubon, who struck out on some terrible pitches in this game. Dubon has been really swinging a lot lately. I feel like he's starting to feel the pressure and trying to get extra hits, so he's expanded the zone from what I can tell. It looks like he's expanding the zone, really trying to get some contact. He's great, just like Jose Altuve. Mauricio Dubon might not be as prolific as putting the bat on the ball, but Mauricio Dubon can swing at some garbage pitches and get the bat on the ball and hit it for a single. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He knows he's capable of it, but I feel like instead of expanding the zone, he needs to try to be a little more patient. I don't think he really is not the type of guy to work a lot of walks, but if he can just lay off some pitches to work into some better counts, so he can see some better pitches, that would really help him right now. Like I said, I don't think it's in him to work a lot of walks, but I do think if he starts to be a little more selective, that will get him some better pitches over the plate and get him some better quality hits. The last strike of the 7th hit was against Pedro Leon, who got his major league debut in this game. Unfortunately, it was a tough one for him. He wasted, there's some wasted opportunities, and it was inexperience, wasted opportunity from Dubon and some inexperience from Leon. Pedro Leon has been a high strikeout player, in the minor leagues, and he's adjusting to the majors. For everything that happened in that heartbreaker first game, I couldn't be too upset about it. The team battled. Dana Brown's bringing up Pedro Leon. Dana Brown's bringing up Zach DeFrin, the Zenzo. Sorry, Zach DeZenzo. He's having roster moves. He's trying to figure out how to get some life into this roster. Joe Espada is doing pinch hit moves. I feel like he's trying to be smart about his bullpen moves. We can argue about whether or not Ferguson should have been the one tapped there over Brian King, Sean Dubin, or Caleb Ort, but saving Hader for the next 2 games, I think, was the wise move there, even though they took the L. So, I feel like everyone was trying to win this game. They just didn't have enough to win it, and that's frustrating. That's heartbreaking. In this game, Bregman, we talked about Altuve. Altuve went 1 for 4. He worked a walk. He scored 2 runs. Bregman was 1 for 5. He struck out once. Alvarez had a pretty quiet game. He was intentionally walked 2 times at his last 2 at-bats in the game. I feel like what the struggle of this game that didn't help us out is Yainer Diaz, who's been so great lately, was 0 for 2 with 2 walks. I feel like working those walks are huge for Yainer Diaz. This is what I was saying earlier. Hopefully that patience continues, and you can't be too mad at them because while Yainer Diaz has been swinging all season, he was able to get on base. He was able to get walks. It just we're hoping for some hit and some power from Yainer Diaz in the heart of the lineup. It just wasn't happening, and that's kind of been the frustration of the season, is that we're getting good performances. We're just not getting the power when we need it, and we're not getting the hits when we need it. We're loading the bases up and then stranding them. In this game, Pena actually was 2 for 4. He got 2 of the RBIs. It wasn't the best game for Pena, but he went out there and he battled. He got like a little bloop single to score an RBI. He was out there battling. Unfortunately, the bottom of the lineup in this game was truly the thorn in the side of the Astros. Myers didn't get a hit, struck out 3 times. McCormick didn't get a hit. Caratini came in and worked a walk, obviously, was substituted for Trey Cabbage after the pinch hit, and Trey Cabbage picked up a strikeout and was 0 for 2. And Dubon picked up 2 strikeouts as well, going 0 for 3 and getting subbed out for John Singleton. And Pedro Leon struck out 3 times, going 0 for 4. So the bottom of the lineup in this game really, really was tough. But I feel like those numbers don't really show how hard that the guys were working, how they were trying to get on base. Outside of, truly, when the bases are loaded, this team has not been performing too well. Outside of those bases loaded at bats, I really, they were decent at bats, and the Astros were trending in the right direction. Bregman hitting a home run in this game obviously is great for us because it's Arlington, and Bregman and Altuve hitting home runs, and there's a little extra hate for those Rangers tiers. So it was just a really tough game to see these guys lose when they did their best. And then moving on to the Tuesday game, yesterday's game, Framber Valdez took the mound. If you haven't heard, the Astros did win this game 4-2. However, it was a heartbreaking win. In a rare situation, a heartbreaking win with Framber Valdez picking up the W, now 11-5 on the season. Framber Valdez pitched 8 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, including the home run that he gave up against Corey Seager in the 9th inning to ruin his, or spoil, I should say, his no-hitter and his shutout. He was 1 pitch away. He truly was 1 pitch away from being in Hall of Fame territory. Being a player that has 2 shutouts is a rarity. There's some really big names on that list, all Hall of Fame type names for the most part. There are, of course, there's always outliers. I'm just saying that having another shutout, another no-hitter in his on his resume would have been huge for Framber. It was really tough, yeah. So in the 9th inning, Framber has been pitching really well. He was just getting close to 100 pitches there. Unfortunately, he walks Josh Smith. Corey Seager comes up. I think Josh Smith was the leadoff batter in this game. I was trying to remember. Yeah, Josh Smith. He walked Josh Smith. Corey Seager came up and hit a home run. It was tough. I think in retrospect, Framber would have loved to tighten it up a little bit more against Smith and strike Smith out to win the game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. Framber Valdez after the game, I don't have the quote directly in front of me, but he said something pretty much like, of course you would have wanted that no hitter, but he was happy that he won. He's happy the team won. He's happy that he won, and he's happy that he fought a good fight against that lineup. So he said the right things. He was smiling a lot during the game. He was even smiling a bit, kind of hanging out a bit in the dugout after he was lifted in the game. He seemed like he was in good spirits. It looks like Fromber is back to being Fromber and not being in his head so much. It looks like he is ready to deal. He's ready to compete, and he has a fire lit under him. After Fromber was out of the game in the ninth inning, Hader came in. He pitched 1/3 of an inning. He did give up a walk, which was a little scary, especially the way the game went the day before on Monday. You did not want to see that, but he did end up getting out of the inning, throwing only 9 pitches on that game and picking up another save, his 23rd save of the season. It was a tough game to see Fromber not make history. However, the Astros were able to win it. That's what matters most. Winning 4-2. The highlight of the game being a Yordan Alvarez home run, his 21st home run. He hit it in the 9th inning off of Dane Dunning to give the Astros a little bit more insurance. At that point, the Astros were up 2-0. The Astros then went up 4-0, which of course, you like to see the extra. You also like to see Yordan hitting home runs. Up to that point, Yordan was in a bit of a home run drought. So that was great to see. Yordan, it's funny because he's having arguably a tough year by Yordan standards, but he's still hitting like 300, and obviously he has more than 20 home runs. He's still doing good. He's just not the Yordan that we could use in this lineup, like just completely blasting the ball all the time when Tucker is out. I feel like, we'll talk about it a little more tomorrow, but this offense needs some more home runs in the heart of the lineup. But in this game, the heart of the lineup and the start of the beginning of the lineup, the top of the lineup was doing great, with Altuve going 2 for 4, working a walk, Bregman going 2 for 5, scoring a run. Yordan obviously went 2 for 5. He had 2 RBIs and scored a run. Sorry, I'm trying to figure. Yeah, obviously hit that home run there. Yainer Diaz was 2 for 5, having another multiple hit game. So that was good. This was Zach DeCinzo's first game. He started as a DH in this game. John Singleton started at first base and went 1 for 2, working 2 walks, which you love to see. I'm saying we need those walks. And Jeremy Pena was Jeremy Pena was 0 for 4, but he did work a walk. He did score 2 runs. But yeah, Zach DeCinzo, I was saying, he started this game as a DH. He was 0 for 4, unfortunately picking up a strikeout. He was aggressive and not in a bad way. He just looked ready to hit. I think sometimes it's just the nerves. I think it was good to see him out there. Like I was mentioning in the previous podcast, the Astros were looking to help spell Singleton by bringing a fresh bat up, trying to ignite this lineup with some offense. Jake the Rake Myers, however, also was igniting this game up. He was 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs in this game. Jake Myers now has 46 RBIs on this season. And unfortunately, at the bottom of the lineup, we'll talk more about it as we go, but Chas McCormick was 0 for 4 in this game with a strikeout and just looked a little lost. He looked frustrated. It was a tough game for the Tasmanian Devil, but overall, the Astros got 11 hits, only struck out 4 times. They were 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position, with leaving 10 men on base, but they did enough to win the game. It's crazy that the game was so close when the Rangers got 1 hit and the Astros got 11, but that's just how it goes sometimes, especially this Houston Astros team that has been struggling to bring men home this season. And moving on to the final game, the third game of the series. This was the big one. I did not want to jinx it, but I definitely wanted to win this series against the Rangers, not just because we need every win we can get, not just because every divisional win is like worth 2 wins right now, but because I'm not going to lie, I want that silver boot, folks. I want those bragging rights, especially against a team like the Arlington Rangers. Little brother up north really, really has a little brother complex with the Houston Astros. They love talking, any kind of smack talk they can. So it's nice to have this silver boot to lord over them for the past 8 years. The Astros won this game behind Yusei Kikuchi, the man, the myth, the legend. Yusei Kikuchi started today for the Houston Astros. The Astros won 6-4 in this game. It was very much needed. This was a tough game for the Texas Rangers, Arlington Rangers up there. It was kind of like a bullpen game. They had Jose Urena who started for them. They definitely are struggling for starting pitchers. Last game it was they had a guy Tyler Mahle who sorry for just I'm trying. I have my pronunciation notes on here. I'm just really struggling sometimes through them. It's just some brain fart. I never mean any disrespect. I always say that, but it was tough to see this team really. I know what it's like. As much as it is a rivalry, and as much as we like to make fun of the Rangers, you know what it's like when you're running out of pitchers. So this was a bullpen game that the Texas Rangers kind of struggled through. Luckily for the Houston Astros, we had enough pitching to win, going 6-4. Yusei Kikuchi, I should be saying, had a great game. He picked up his 5th win of the season. He went out there today. He pitched a really good 5 innings, but he ended up going 5 1/3 of an inning, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 3 walks on 8 strikeouts. So good, nice high strikeout again. And he did give up 1 home run. I think Kikuchi in this game, the changeup, the cambio that they were using, that he was using a lot in his last start, he kind of dialed that back a little bit, got back to his normal arsenal. I feel like he knew that the Rangers were looking for a lot of changeups. He didn't mix it up. He obviously had a good game and a winning effort. I don't think Kikuchi. Pardon me, I was saying he's probably going to be like Valdez. In previous podcasts, I said, comparison to him might be Valdez, because Valdez is a lefty pitcher that the fan base sometimes loves, sometimes is very frustrated by. They love him when he's executing, and they're frustrated by him when he can't execute his pitches. Kikuchi, that for the most part, he's not the same type of pitcher that Valdez is. Kikuchi is looking more for swing and miss and strikeouts than Valdez. Valdez looks a lot for contact and keeps the ball low. Both of these pitchers want to keep the ball low for the most part. Kikuchi does have that high fastball that works for him. But I feel like the Rangers today were waiting for elevated pitches that they could do some damage with, and Kikuchi, for the most part, kept them on their toes and kept them on their heels, I should say, too. So it was a great effort. I do think that, perhaps what we're hearing from Blue Jays fans is 3rd time through the order is sometimes tough for Kikuchi. He isn't like Valdez in the sense that Valdez is a pitcher that you think could go a complete game. He has that in him. Kikuchi looks like he has more of a limitation for how many innings he can go. But it was good to see that winning effort for him. After, in the 6th inning, Taylor Scott was brought in. He only ended up pitching 1/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned run, and a walk. He just didn't look his sharpest, and I think right as he was about to get into some trouble, wisely Joe Espada lifted him out of the game and sent in Brian Abreu early to start his 7th inning, in the 6th. Abreu ended up going 1 1/3 of an inning, letting up 1 hit and getting a strikeout. Abreu getting his 27th hold on the season. And just going along with pitching here, as I do sometimes, Ryan Presley came in the 8th inning. He got his 20th hold, but it was a little tense, folks. Ryan Presley looked like he was going to blow another save. I was really getting worried. I was starting to wonder, oh man, what are we going to say about this guy? What type of article am I going to write? And he didn't end up blowing the save. He did give up 3 hits. He did giving up a run, an earned run, and he did get 1 strikeout. But Presley is just kind of like a little stressful to watch as of late. I'm hoping I'm hoping that he can figure it out. I don't know if it's a mental thing that it has to do with the eighth inning. I don't know if it's an injury thing where he, has a, sore back, or he was having a sore finger issues, and that can affect your grip. I don't know what Presley's deal is. Obviously, he is still pitching good, but when people are used to Presley being amazing, people are starting to speculate as to what it could be. We could talk more about it later, but I think it's just slightly aging in the new eighth inning experience. I don't think that it's like diva stuff, but it's just tough to watch sometimes. But he did get out of it. He did get a hold, and he kept the Astros on the winning track. And then Hader, our guy, came in the ninth and got the save. His 24th save that ties a record for consecutive saves, that he tied Brad Lidge in the Houston Astros former closer, who had the same amount of consecutive saves and consecutive attempts. So Hader will be trying for a Houston Astros franchise record next time he goes out there for a save. So all the people that are saying he's not worth it, or he's just been trashed this whole season, he's doing good when he is set up well. But our guys right now, they tend to struggle sometimes in stressful situations. But right now, we don't have to stress on that. The Astros pick up the W. The Astros are, winning the silver boot. We don't want to speculate too much. Tomorrow is a day for speculation. Going to the offense here, the Astros had obviously a really good offense. They picked up 13 hits in this game. It's kind of getting back to normal, this offense in this game. I feel like the efforts were there in the two previous games, but in this game, they actually got the execution as well as the effort. It was great to see Zach DeZenzo out there at first base. He had a really good first game playing first base for the Astros, and it's nice to see because I do think John Singleton is a little overworked, and it would be nice to give him some time off because he has been very effective this season when he's looking good, and I think that maybe it could just be a little wear and tear. It could just be a long season for Singleton, having a little bit of fresh blood with DeZenzo in there to invigorate this offense, to get to not only get Singleton some rest, but to get him a little competition, kind of get him a little time off, but also to get him out there and kind of be willing to execute a little more. I think Singleton is an amazing patient batter, but we do want to see a little more power out of him. So maybe he'll be a little more aggressive on those pitches in the zone that he knows he can do some damage with. But Zach DeZenzo in this game, he went 2 for 3, scoring 2 runs and working a walk. It was great. Another great thing out of this game was Mauricio Dubon, who's found it again. He's 2 for 4 in this game with an RBI. I think Dubon, I think he can benefit from extra playing time, but it's hard to give him extra playing time when he's going through slumps. He does better when he has consistent playing time. I think that really is a thing. So if he can start executing, if he can start playing well, he can easily have more time in the outfield now that McCormick is struggling as bad as he is. So, whether it's McCormick or whether it's Dubon, you're really hoping one of these guys can step up and start executing a little more. And speaking of outfield execution, unfortunately, in this game, Jake the Rake Myers did not find his rake, going 0 for 5 with a strikeout. And also of note in this game, Victor Caratini started as catcher. It looks like him and Kikuchi are going to be battery partners for a little bit here. Caratini had a good game, as he generally does. It's good to see Caratini in the lineup. He hit 2 for 4 in this game, picking up an RBI. He also picked up a walk and a run. He is hitting 268 on the season with a 789 OPS. So more Caratini in the lineup right now is better, seeing that we need consistent offense, and Caratini has been consistent when he's been in the lineup. So I'm happy to see Caratini in the lineup. I think we might need to put him at a DH every now and then. I know it's kind of tough to do without a third catcher, but I feel like it might be necessary, push come to shove, if this offense is going to struggle towards the bottom of the lineup. But we didn't have a struggle from Yainer Diaz in this game, who went 3 for 5. Yainer picking up another multiple hit game. And in this game, too, another multiple hit game from Alex Bregman, who went 2 for 5 with an RBI. He did pick up a strikeout. Carantini, I forgot to mention, he did hit his 6th home run of the season. He hit it in the 6th inning off Leclerc. And Jordan, I just mentioned he hit his 21st home run. Didn't want to spoil it here for you, but he also hit his 22nd home run in this game. He looks like he is mashing the ball once again. DeZenzo also hit a double, and Dubon hit a double. So you love to see all that extra base hits going on in the game. That contributed to some major offense, not just getting singles, not just working some walks, but getting extra base hitting for power. The team was 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position and did leave 10 men on base. So that there was some misses there. Jordan ended up going 1 for 3, working 2 walks, getting that RBI on that home run, and and Jose Altuve went 1 for 4 with an RBI and worked a walk in this game. So yeah, it was really good to see this team kind of execute, even though it was only 3 times with runners in scoring position. They executed 3 times with runners in scoring position, and that was enough offense to win the game. I do think that that it was nice to see some love in the bottom of the lineup there, but it is funny how it's like a seesaw when guys like Dubon and new guy DeZenzo, or you get some love from some bottom of the lineup guys. Myers and Pena are now quiet. In previous games, Myers and Pena were the guys supporting the bottom of the lineup. So you wish there was offense going on all around, but that's just how the Astros have been this season. Is sometimes they just can't find all the offense at the right moment. But they end up getting the win. They end up winning 6-4 in this game, putting the Astros up over the Rangers for the season. So they have that they might not have the tiebreaker against Seattle, but they have the tiebreaker against the Rangers now in case the Rangers have a late season push. But the Astros are now 59-55 currently, as the recording of this podcast, in the first place of the AL West. They have the same exact record as the Mariners as of the recording of this podcast. That will change tonight as the Mariners play their game. And the Texas Rangers are 54-61. Not 55 games back. That's crazy. There's a decimal point there, Paul. They're 5.5 games back of first place in the AL West. So, this was big for the Astros because in a way it's putting the boot on the neck of the Rangers. The season still has plenty of time left, but winning that series, getting that momentum back from the Rangers and keeping them behind us in the race and elevating ourselves to the top of the race, at least temporarily, is big for us, especially going up against some big teams in the next week here. We have the Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays to finish up our road trip here, which the Red Sox have been on a tear lately. They've been really good. And the Rays, even though they've been sellers at the deadline, we've seen what they can do. They still can play some ball. So the Astros need this momentum to keep that offense going. They are going to need a lot of offense to beat these two teams, I believe, who, I think they're going to need, 5 to 6 runs to beat these teams. And they've scored 3 runs, and they scored 4 runs, and they scored 6 runs. So, hopefully they're finding that offense. And hopefully Kyle Tucker will be coming back soon. With that being said, before we get too much into speculation or talking about other things, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast for today. Tomorrow we will speak more broadly about the Astros. We'll talk about roster moves. We'll talk about the official Houston Astros panic meter. Where should you be at? Where am I at in the panicking? We'll look at kind of overall trends. We'll see what the offense is looking like. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what the pitching is how it's been going since the trade deadline. We'll look at corresponding roster moves for that and kind of look to see what some people that we could have had in trades or have been traded away are up to in the league. So definitely check that out tomorrow. In the meantime, let's go ahead and wrap up this podcast by saying check out the Substack. You can check out Space Cadet Sports at Substack. Sorry, let's try that again. spacecadetsports.substack.com is the website. Go check out the blog. Go check out the podcast there. Just putting your email into the field there gets you every post, every meme, every podcast and video podcast that we post directly to your email box. Or if you're like me, email's not quite it for you. You're using your phone more. You can get the app, download the Substack app, subscribe to Space Cadet Sports, and you get every meme, every post, and every podcast and video podcast as a notification on your phone. You could just click a little box there. You don't get the emails anymore. You just can deal with it on the mobile app. I love that experience. You can check that out. You could read all kinds of people from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Michael Ian Black to me on that app. So definitely go give that a check. And yeah, reach out to me on social media. You can find me at Paul Salazar Jr. on all social media if you want to let me know what you think of Zach DeCinzo, what you think of Framber Valdez almost getting the whole no-hitter there, being 1 out away. Let me know your thoughts. We're trying to build a Houston Astros community that is positive about this team. Thanks for listening to the podcast, folks. Wherever you're listening to this on, please give it a like. Please subscribe. Automatically download the podcast and rate and review this podcast 5 stars. Share it with Astros fans that will appreciate this type of content. And folks, check out the podcast tomorrow. We're going to have a lot more stuff to talk about for sure. Keep your head up. And as always, vamos Astros.